Hi folks, and welcome back for another video. So today in the shack we've got something a little bit rare and not necessarily unusual, but definitely rare, and it's this Collins ARC-2, which is an American made transceiver from late World War II, and from what I understand, and I've struggled to get an awful lot of information about this this radio off the internet to share with you. But from what I understand, it's a radio that was used most commonly in US Navy aircraft. So it's an airborne transceiver. It's a sort of I would say a bit of a slimmed down version of the ART-13. So if you know the ART-13, which is relatively common compared to this, then that more or less gives you a rough idea of what it is. So this would have been used on sort of anti-submarine type reconnaissance planes, such as the Coronado, the Mariner, and certainly used on other forms of planes like the Curtiss Hell Diver, which is actually quite a smaller plane compared to the other ones I mentioned. So, you know, when you compare it to the ART-13, which was sort of used in B-29s, a much bigger aircraft, this is quite a slim and sort of compact unit, you know, compared to those sort of transceivers. But having said that, I mean, this unit, it's not slim by today's standard. It weighs about 60 pounds, 30 kilos when you try and lift it. So yes, it's a bit smaller than some military pieces of equipment, but it's still quite heavy and a bit of a lump to move around. So what we'll do is we'll take a closer look at it, and I want to open it up and have a look. I haven't opened this. I haven't taken this out of its case as yet. So I'm as curious as you are to see what it's like inside. It does work, which is quite good, and hopefully we can perhaps set it up and see if we can get a QSO with it. It does. It's not, in terms of its modes, it's not terribly diverse. So it's really designed, you know, as most World War II equipment was, for AM, MCW, modulated carrier wave, and CW. So that's all it does. You won't find FT8 on this, I'm afraid. So there we go. Anyway, I'm going to move the camera in a bit closer, and I'm going to show you the front panel and just take you through a few things on it. So if you bear with me, we'll do that now. So here's a close-up of the ARC-2, and this one is in pretty good condition actually, as you can see by the quality of the front panel. It's all the knobs and everything are intact, and the paintwork is pretty good actually. So this transmitter, or transceiver I should say, covers from about 2 to 9 megahertz, which is quite convenient because it obviously will cover some of the amateur bands. And we've got our frequency display up here and our bands, and got this basically adjusts the tuning. Band switch here. This BNC socket I think isn't somebody's added at a later stage. The receiver on this the receiver on this radio is quite broad banded. It doesn't really have an awful lot of filters or anything. So somebody's obviously connected this up or inserted this BNC socket as a means to connect to a more suitable receiver. So certainly for CW, you know, that's quite a good idea. And moving on, we've got a switch for the dial light, and this is the switch to look at the antenna current and the plate current of the power amplifier stage. And these dials here, or knobs, call them what you like, this is basically the PA tuning and the antenna tuning. This radio, similar to the ART13, has got an auto-tune mechanism, and this seemed to be a feature on quite a few of the US Navy aircraft radios. It was and certainly, and it was you know, something that Collins adopted, so that, you know, airmen could, you know, adjust the tuning of the radio without sort of having to spend too much time fiddling around with dials and knobs, you know, because when you're in an aircraft, you know, you just really want to get on with it. So we've got sockets here for the key. This is the headphones. Now I've got this connected up to a speaker because the audio output of this is actually quite good, so it's quite capable of driving a small speaker, which is quite handy. And down here we've got a microphone socket, which is for a carbon microphone. As mentioned before, down here we've got the mode. We've got the calibration position there to calibrate it, and CW, MCW, and voice, which is obviously AM, and the volume control here. So let's fire it up. I've got it connected to a 28 volt supply, so you can run this thing. I think the maximum current drawn initially is probably about 20 amps, although I haven't seen it draw that sort of current. And I think the first thing you'll notice when I turn it on is the auto-tune might go on. I think it did that last time, but I can demonstrate the auto-tune. So we'll turn it on. This lovely little push-in switch here, which turns everything on. So you can hear there's a Dyna-motor going on there in the background. And I think as far as Dyna-motors are concerned, I'm not quite sure how this will come out in the video, but yes, they're noisy, but this is certainly not the noisiest Dyna-motor I've ever experienced. So you could actually use this quite easily. I mean, this sounds as, you know, like a chunky fan that you would have on a linear amplifier. It's not much noisier than that, so that's pretty good. So at the moment I've got this, as you can see down here, we've got the channels, preset channels, and I've got this tuned up on 3615 kilohertz, which is the AM frequency on 80 meters here in the UK. So if I key this, I'll just move the camera slightly. If I key this, you should get some power out. I'll just turn the volume down on that side tone, it's a bit noisy. So as you can see there, we're getting about 26 watts of RF. So it's certainly not the most powerful of transmitters, given the size of it. So if I turn this, now I've got all of this set up on channel 1. So if I turn this to channel 2, so I've just. Okay, I've turned it to channel 2, and I haven't put anything into that channel, so I don't know what frequency it's on or anything, but what I'll demonstrate, if I turn it back to channel 1 again, okay, and then I press the key, just look at the you can get a bit closer on the power meter. if I press the key again, hopefully it should all be tuned up and ready to go. Which it is. 28, 27 watts or thereabouts. I'll just move the camera back. So that demonstrates the auto-tune quite nicely. The auto-tune on this rig seems to be working pretty good. You know, as I said, it's all set up for the pre-selected channels. I've only got it on channel 1 at the moment, which is, as I said, for the 3615. So I think what I should try and do is show you the inside of this and see what it looks like. As I said, I haven't opened it up yet. You'll notice that it, you can see down here, it comes on this, let's move it, this tray here, which is an anti-vibration rack. So this would be sort of bolted somewhere inside the aircraft, and you can undo these screws here, and this rig will then slide out of the tray. There's a big multi-pin connector at the back which then connects it to the power supply. There are a number of other accessories that go with this rig which I haven't got. Various control boxes which would be set up in various places around the aeroplane, so that you know, for the pilot to plug in the headphones, the mic, the CW key, and again, unfortunately I haven't got any of that, so can't really show it to you. So let's see if we can take it out of the box, and we'll have a look inside and show you what it's all about. Looking at the rear of this unit before I take off the back, just a couple of things to show you. You've got this tool here, which apparently is used for undoing the filters of the ventilation to the Dyna-motor, and also to the valves. I'm not sure if you really need that, because these things unscrew fairly easily. So if I undo this, there's a valve in there, which I'm not sure, I would guess that's probably one of the PA tubes, which we'll have a look at in a minute. That screws back in there. Use my other hand, I think. There we go. Then obviously here you've got your socket for the multi-pin connector, which is on the back of the rack. So anyway, let's see if I can unscrew it and take the cover off. Well, here we are, folks. Managed to take the dust cover off of the transmitter, and as you can see, they really don't make radios like this these days, do they? Just give you some close-up. What we're looking at here are the bases of the PA and modulator tubes, which are 1625s. So the power amplifier is a pair of 1625s modulated by a pair of 1625s, so it uses full anode or plate modulation, and somewhere in that lot, I guess, is a mod transformer, I presume. But these are all like Chicago transformers, you know, sealed units. You would never believe this was built in the 40s, would you? Look at this. This is American engineering at its best. The Collins stuff I find is just absolutely amazing. you know, it's just manufactured to such a high standard. Anyway, let's have a look at the rest of it. I'll just come around this side of it. It's such a lump, this thing. It's very difficult to move. So on the side here, and I think this, get into focus, what we've got all the way down there is basically the circuitry for the receiver. And we've got mica capacitors everywhere. The valve base is just absolutely mint. I presume that big capacitor there has something to do with the power supply. The only concern which I do have, which might be an issue, it's certainly not a problem at the moment, and that's these capacitors here. In the in some receivers, such as the the AR88 is a good example. These sort of metal, like we used to call them bathtub capacitors. They were prone to leakage, and my AR88, which I use as my predominant receiver for AM, I had to replace a whole load of those, but those look pretty good. I'm not sure if they're going to need anything doing on them. Give you a close-up of these boards, and you have to realise that all these were done by hand by some lady working for the war effort back in the day. They certainly made a good job of it. Let's just come round to this side. So on this side we've got a whole load of metal valves. Metal in the sense that they got metal cases, 12A, what have we got there? 12A6s, 12SG7s, and more of them over there. I think those are for the receiver. I think the 12SA7s, etc. Quite a few of them are used in the receiver section, and this is what I find brilliant. Look at this. It even comes with its own little toolkit. We've got some Phillips screwdrivers there and some Allen keys. I mean, how many rigs these days come with their own little toolkit underneath? It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And there we go. I think what we need to do is take off that cover there. I don't want to take this thing apart too much because you know, obviously it's a nice bit of equipment, but no, we'll see what we can do. We'll take off that cover there because I think the PA tubes and the modulator tubes are underneath there. I would like to also show you the Dyna-motor if I can find it. I guess that's probably might be under there as well. So here we are, folks. This is the Dyna-motor, and the compartment also has the PA tubes and the modulator tubes. So we've got, as I said, it's a pair of 1625s modulating a pair of 1625. So the two tubes for the PA are obviously down here because we've got the anti-parasitic chokes on the anode top caps. And let's get into focus a bit. For those that are not familiar with valves, the 1625 is an American tube, which is not surprising given this is an American rig, but it's the 12 volt version of an 807, so it's exactly the same as an 807 except the heater is 12 volts and not 6.3. So quite a common valve in this sort of equipment, used quite extensively. And there we've got our Dyna-motor. See if we can zoom in on that label. I believe this Dyna-motor provides something like 500 volts. Let's have a look, we can see it there, I think, if I can just keep a steady hand. Not sure if the camera's doing it. No, I think it's a little bit too dark. But anyway, it's I think it's about 500 volts and 290 volts, the various HT voltages. And I think just rotate it again so you can look at the final side. Not that much to see on this side really, without sort of unscrewing it and completely taking it apart. We've just got some coils and capacitors. I think they look like RF chokes, but I'm not sure. The top ones look definitely like RF chokes, but the other ones at the bottom look a bit different. And then again, I presume this is some sort of filtering, could be filtering for the Dyna-motor possibly. Anyway, I think what we need to do is put it all back together, put the cover back on and set it up and see if we can perhaps get a QSO. Or we can try getting one on AM, or we can do it CW. I'm quite tempted to actually connect this up to 4 square and see how far we can get with it on CW, see if we can get across the pond. That'll be pretty cool, but conditions on 80 meters at the moment are a bit naff, so we may just have to stick with an AM, a local AM QSO on 3615. Anyway, let's put it all back together first. Okay guys, we've set the ARC2, we've got it all set up, and I'm using another receiver with it. We're using the low frequency, the LF receiver outlet here to receive with the receiver on the actual rig. It's a bit hard work when you have to use headphones. So for the purpose of the video, I think it's easier if we use the old trusty Trio, which is what we've got. There's a couple of stations on. There's Peter VUN, who's up north, and what we're going to do is I've actually put the transceiver on with a 4 square. So the 4 square, if you watch the last video, it's difficult to know how they'll receive me compared to the dipole. But I'm putting on the 4 square because I know Peter's quite far away. He's up north, so he's probably got a better chance of copying me. But we'll see how we go on. Anyway, I'll have to give him a call. G4VUN, G4VUN, Golf Whiskey 0, Foxtrot Zulu Yankee.
You're getting out okay, Justin, and good afternoon to Aubrey. Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, good afternoon, Mervyn. Thanks for the QSO. Yes, I'm just well, I was hoping to get hold of Peter, but I'm not sure if he can hear me. I'm just sort of doing a quick test run of the ARC2 transmitter, Mervyn, and I was just doing a little video, but I was hoping to see if Peter could hear me up there in northern England. I'm not sure where exactly he is. Anyway. But now that you're on channel, you can drop in and be on the YouTube video instead, because I'm on the 4 square, and with this ARC2 transmitter, I know it's not going to be tripping out like it does with the Class C. But on the call in there, Mervyn, you were cracking signal. So I'll put it back to you. GW8TBG from GW0FZY.
Yes, okay, fine, Justin, GW8TBG. And yes, I thought it could have been the ARC2. Nice to hear it on, Justin. Quite a rare transmitter, that. So typical military sounding with, I'm sure you're using a carbon mic. Peter is located up at North Yorkshire, at Scotch Corner, or near Scotch Corner anyway, and Aubrey is at Nuneaton, Warwickshire. So they were both coming in quite good signals with me, with some QSB. Fine, Justin. I think it's possibly the first time you've used the ARC 2. But I'm copying you a good signal strength, 5.9 plus, obviously at this distance. And I'm using a lab gear LG300 and a Eddystone 680X. So I'll put it back to you, Justin, and I'll leave a pause in case either Aubrey or Peter are still on frequency. So GW0FZY, GW8TBG, you're listening.
US Mervyn. G4KQL.
So okay, stand by. Justin is trying to contact you, Peter. Did you copy him, Justin? Over.
GW0FZY returning. Yeah, all copied, Mervyn. Yes, I can hear Peter. I could hear, I think it was Aubrey, G4KQL was also still on frequency. So very good afternoon to you, Aubrey, and also to Peter, if you can hear me. For the benefit of the other two stations, I'm running an ARC-2, an ARC-2 Collins transceiver, which I'm actually doing a quick video for YouTube. So if you can copy me, you can have fame and fortune on this video. This isn't the first time I've used it, Mervyn. I did use it on the AM early morning net. But I've just done some really nice videos of it. I just took the lid off the ARC-2, and it's I was just totally gobsmacked by the how pristine it is, and how beautifully made this Collins radio is. It's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, I'll put it back to you, Mervyn. Maybe you can perhaps see if Peter's there, if he's copying me or not. So I'll put it back to you quickly, Mervyn. GW8TBG from GW0FZY.
Yes, okay, Justin, and good afternoon to Peter and Aubrey, GW8TBG. Yes, fine, Justin, and I agree with you about that ARC-2. I have seen it in the past, that particular one, and beautifully made piece of equipment. And as I said earlier, there's not many of them around, especially on the air, Justin. So great to hear it on. Okay, I put it up to Peter there. So over to you, Peter. Then if you can put it then to Aubrey from GW8TBG and the group. Over.
G4VUN. Yeah, very good afternoon, Mervyn and Justin. I'm copying you both quite well. There's tremendous QSB, fading, call it what you will. So it's a wee bit difficult in the troughs, but on the peaks, you both have very good signals. With the ARC-2, Justin, but I have a feeling it's not one of the command range of, obviously transmitter, or it could be a transmitter receiver, I don't know. Anyway, it sounds okay. The band's pretty noisy. Aubrey was struggling a bit with me. So I'll put it round to you, Aubrey. Hopefully you're still copying. But anyway, everybody's Q5. But it's very difficult to give a report because of the QSB up and down. But anyway, nice to hear the voice, Mervyn. It's a wee while since we've spoken. So where are we going? G4KQL. I hope you're still copying, Aubrey. G4VUN and Aubrey G4KQL.